I didn't want to take my car to the track until it was ready, I'd always said. But here's a piece of truth for absolutely everyone listening to this. Your car, whatever it is, will never be ready. It'll never be truly done. And that's both the torture and the beauty of the hobby. You've been working on transforming your car from a daily driven EconoSports wiener into a track-ready troublemaker for like 6 years, and you feel like you have something to prove at this holy altar of car competition. At least I did. I'd installed 3 headers, 2 exhausts, 4 sets of injectors, 2 superchargers, and just boatloads of other shit, and somehow it had never managed to be ready. So this story is about swallowing your pride and getting to a racetrack. It's also a how-to guide and a look at my first experience taking my 370 horsepower Civic to a racetrack after 7 years of waiting. Step 1, find the closest racetrack to you. Step 2, find their schedule. And Step 3, just find an event. I personally did a Track Night America, an afternoon to evening session that provided about 1 to 2 hours of on-track time and had 3 driving groups. I paid $150 for the track night, which was about half of what you'd pay for a normal track day. The only requirements of your car are that it be roadworthy, decent tires, not leaking any kind of fluids, and operating properly, not fast or cool looking or fantastic at handling. And honestly, at the track there were plenty of cars that fit none of those categories. So, what's your excuse again? For your car, you'll want a full load of fluids to be swapped in beforehand, and probably shortly after your track day as well. Tech inspection, or in this case self-certified tech inspection, was required. A DOT-compliant helmet was also required. I used an older Shoei motorcycle helmet, and I didn't have any issues. Finally, I knew I wanted to buy track insurance for my car, so I went to Track Night America's website and found their preferred supplier. Now, the insurance was a stated value, so it's not very cheap for an expensive car, but for me it was about $150 that covered a stated value of about $16,000. Also remember, none of the major auto insurance agencies offer any protection for anything resembling motorsports, so definitely think this over and make your own call. Now, before arriving, even weeks before arriving, you might find that you have become a bit of a ball of nerves about going to the track.
You know how to handle that situation. Just shit in your pants and dive in and swim.
First step for me was a paced lap. Time to get the jitters out. Here, I was spending most of my time trying to find the flaggers, which are really your only point of contact for track communication. I was also learning the course since I had not been on it before. Finally came the first series of hot laps for the beginner group, which had me finding my rhythm with the track and with the car. Some might describe the handling in my Civic as a bit rowdy. 370 wheel horsepower through 2 front tires isn't exactly a recipe for stability. I do have a boost by gear setup, limiting output in first and second gear, and some 235 Dureza star specs, but neither is an absolute solution though. They're just an improvement. Still, I managed to chase down an NSX and stick with it, and I am living the fucking dream. Catching a supercar, even an early 90s Honda supercar on a racetrack with this much ease was a serious thrill. I had done something right. On straights, I had more than enough power, honestly, and I found myself letting the car cruise more than redlining it just to keep safe distances between me and the cars that I was following. After all, I didn't really want to ride people's asses and fuck up their track experience just to prove my power. The one embarrassment that I did suffer that night came in the form of a flag. They pulled me off the track after my very first hot lap, and I had absolutely no idea why.
Take off your parking brake. Open your fuel door, please. I had a report of you spilling fuel. The cap was a little bit loose. I tightened it up.
Okay.
Should be okay.
All right, thank you.
And when you're out there doing this and you hit the parking brake, it's going to put a hot spot on your rotor and crack it.
Wait, so my car's leaking fuel after that one gentle lap? I've spent 7 years wrenching on this car, and I know it's not perfect, but I've learned almost all of its flaws, and as far as I know, leaking fuel has never been one of them. Although it would help explain why it's getting 16 miles per gallon. So let's try this again. I could feel the car struggling for traction at times in corners, but generally the pace of the group was holding me back more than the limits of myself or of the car. It was capable of much more than it was doing. And as for me, I was not doing as bad as I had feared, which was cause for celebration as far as I was concerned. Fear had become fun at this point, and I realized that this was probably going to be worth all the money I'd spent on the evening. Maybe it was even going to be worth all the money I'd spent on the car too, although that was a much taller order. Prior to the second session, I checked below, around, and within my car for the leak, but it wasn't showing up. Oh well, hopefully I'd be able to focus more on the driving and less on the flags in this session. Finally, a bit of space to stretch my legs. Oh look, I caught a Z4. Which leapfrogged a mean-sounding BRZ. But God bless the BRZ, it is a nimble but not fast car. So drive gentle and wait for a passing zone. And make a clean pass with space to slow for the corner. Caught the Z4 again. And now I'm making another clean pass on it. A bit more room to breathe. And another fucking flag. Dear God, this is my life. I'm always the guy in the group who gets singled out. I drive slow in case I'm a hazard, and I point everyone past that I can.
You're leaking fuel again. Open your fuel door. You're good by me. It's dry and it don't stink. Have you got something in the trunk?
No.
Nothing that could spill or none of that?
Nothing I can think of.
And what's your fuel level at?
Sort of high.
I don't smell anything. I don't see anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, head on out.
But there was no more out to head to. It was back to the paddock to furiously search my car again for any signs of fuel or liquid or anything leaking. The final session began as session 1 had, with an immediate flag and pit-in with more thorough inspection. They had threatened to boot me off the track, even though no one, myself included, could find any signs whatsoever of a fuel leak. Was I the victim of a bullshit spotter who hated Hondas? Or was my car finally unraveling under the stress of a racetrack? I guessed at first, based on my knowledge of my car, it runs damn near a 10-to-1 AFR at wide open throttle, and if fuel was leaking from anywhere, I thought maybe it was the tailpipe. So I stayed at light throttle for the rest of the evening. After all, this was the final session, and I'd lost about 4 to 5 laps so far being pulled off the track. This was trimming my fun and drastically diminishing the value of the night. As the track night entered its final phase, I felt I'd come to peace with the track, my car, and my driving. But then I began to notice the one thing you can never control when driving: the people around you. Somewhere during the event, the few rules we'd been given seemed to go out the fucking window. Point to pass was gone, passing zones were wherever you wanted, and it felt more like a freeway than an organized track event. This guy would have glanced my rear bumper at least 100 miles per hour if I had just taken the point and not checked my mirrors. So keep your eyes open, check your mirrors, and point to pass. Oh, and total time it took to watch this video, you could have found a track day, bought it, and got insured. It's really that simple, folks. Making this happen had always been about $400 away at any point. So please don't overthink this stuff. Just go if you want to, or go drag race if you want to, or enter a car show with your half-prepared car. Just do what you want. YOLO, swag, and hashtag live fast, die young, or what the fuck ever you kids do these days. So in summary, would I do it again? Yeah, absolutely I would do it again. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty damn good. However, I won't be able to do it again. Wait, did I not mention that I had to sell the car?